Alright, welcome back. It's been a few weeks, I think 3, almost 4 since I posted last, but life came up, I had a birthday, so I just kind of took a little step back, but I want to get back into the swing of things, and I guess I'm still kind of like trying to figure out what my next project should be for you guys. So digging around my drawer, I have some Swans, some Mabie Todds, and they're both leverless. Not both, but all 3 are leverless kind of twist fillers. And I thought, I have 2 kind of already prepped. I kind of done not too long ago. Then I had a 3rd one that I thought, okay, this will be a good before and after, because it's definitely got it's supposed to be a black pen, I assume, but it's so oxidized it looks pretty much brown. So I thought this would make a great before and after, and maybe we could talk about the self-filling mechanism. And when I finally pulled them apart, I realized I thought they had all been the same mechanism, but these 2 are one type, this one is another type. So while these are complete and done, polished up, and what they're going to be, other than maybe I thought maybe I could deoxidize that in the future, but everything's polished, so I can at least show you how to disassemble and put these 2 together again, maybe one of the 2, because it's the same mechanism. And this one is a separate one, which there's nothing to really do about the mechanism. It's really just a matter of changing the sack and then just understanding how it works. And I mean, I don't have too many of these, so I don't know what kind of disrepair these kind of twist fillers can get into, but the few that I've had have all held up the test of time. So let me start and figure out, let me just kind of show the differences. And I might actually need my light to show you what I'm talking about. So this, simple enough. We're going to, that doesn't even screw, it just pulls out. And there was a sack in here, this like ossified sack was what came out of this one. And let's see if I can figure out how to show, if I can get my light to work a little bit. And come on. Okay, let's see if that stays on. Nope, maybe not. I will say that with this, I got this light, probably pen tooling. Yeah, there's the imprints there, pen tooling. Overall, it works pretty well, but I have found that the connection somewhere along the wire, maybe somewhere in here, but I really think the connection is having issues with the way the batteries in here line up, because to get it to work, I wind up twisting this a little bit. So I don't know if this is just a one-off, that it's not super great, because it feels solid, but I would say maybe that's a pause I would have for recommending the pen tooling light. But I'm going to stick the light down there, see if we can see it. But if you see there at the like 12 o'clock position, there's like a little kind of bar that's a little bit of a slant. And so what I'm going to try to do is leave that there. Maybe we can see, maybe I'll just twist it and see what it does. And so apparently I have it in the open position. So let me close it and see if we can see what the position did. So if I do that there, that's at the bottom. If I do it one more time with just leaving my hand steady and lefty loosey righty tighty, did it work? Yeah, that was it. And shine it back in there. You can see, hopefully, that that little bar is rotating. So what this thing is really doing is when you twist it open in one position, I'm sorry, this is not going to work, is it? But if you hold it there, maybe I can do it with a hand. Maybe not. This is awkward. But there we go. Up at the top. Twist it so that my hand plates stay the same. It's now off to the side. So all that's really doing is kind of wringing that around the side. So you wind up twisting the sack and then you dip in the ink, then you return this to untwist the sac, and that little twisting compression is what will open the sac back up and allow it to draw a vacuum. So this one really is a twist filler, right? You twist, it rings the sac, you untwist, it unrings the sac, and that releases the compression and allows the vacuum to form. So that's how this one works. Fairly straightforward. And I mean, if that piece were to break out of there, I don't know that I would know what to do with it. I have to see it broken out, but it feels pretty solid. It's a pretty simple design, so hopefully you're not coming across these broken. So maybe one day I'll see one, but for now I'll count myself lucky to not have to repair that part. And the other one, let's see, should I do the red? The blue one's a little bit bigger. Let's see if the blue one will open up. And this one's beautiful. I love the size of this guy. But this guy is a screw-in, and you can already see that there's something going on. There is a bar in here. So here's the bar. It is just a nice little compression bar, just like what you would see in a duofold or any kind of like button filler, right? So what we have, and see if I can show with the light, there is at the very bottom a little metal piece. Let me figure out the lining out. There you go. A little metal piece that rotates and moves up and down as you twist. And I don't think it's going to really show us anything, but if I untwist it, we have a nice metal collar in there and metal threading. And I don't know that you can actually tell the difference. I can't just by eye, but that's the twisting is doing something to that little metal bit at the bottom. And what it's doing, let's see if I can line it up for you, is if we put it in there, and the tricky thing is this, of these particular kinds of pens, are getting them lined up and everything just kind of falling into the slots. So here I am just trying to find the center, and what I'm really looking for is for that to kind of sit into the knob. Oh, it just did it. There we go. You see it fell into the knob and it fell below the level of the threads. So let's see if I can get it twisted and we can see what it's going to do. There we go. So you can see, hopefully, as I twist it, it peaks up. So it somehow, doing this twisting mechanism, somehow raises the inner part to push up the pressure bar so that that top edge is going to impact against the side of this section, and there's already a pre-cut out kind of little slot for that to rest in. So as that comes up, that's going to bow the filler, and I can push it and you can maybe hear it activate, like it's boom, it pushed out. And now as you undo the twist, and I'm going to keep my finger on it for the pressure, I can feel it relax. And if I let my finger go, it is still now below the level of that neck. So that's what these things are. And so what you wind up doing for these is the tricky part. We're going to do we'll do more of a demonstration with this one, but this is just like any other one. You can knock out the nib, you do your polishing, your feed with the nib, put it back in, you resac, and it's just a classic section with a sac with a nib and feed. So that part is not super technical, but what you're going to have difficulty doing is getting this, keeping that there, because there's this nice little cutout, and that's where this thing lies. And you're going to want to position it so that this flat part is facing the sac. And then I guess there's a couple ways you can do it. You could try to put it all in together, let it slip in. But what you're trying to do is keep that aligned and kind of rotate, let the threads go righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, and hopefully just the positioning is going to let it be able to slip down. There we go, into the knob, and that'll let you thread this down nice and easy. You shouldn't have any resistance. It should just be able to slip straight down into it with the knob in the closed position, it should be able to slip down because the section ends here, and that bar should end just below where the threads are. And then of course we'll see if we can hear it. I'm going to open it. No, maybe not. I don't get any sound from it. But we'll do this with the water test later. We'll see if we can get the bubbles coming out of it. There we go. Well, it looks like this one is starting to... Is it still in there? Yeah, it's still in there. It looks like this one over threads and it kind of came back out. But there we go. So we'll play around with these a little bit. And this red one is exactly the same. You have a slightly different knob, and we'll compare these a little bit at the end. But this one also has the knob. It opens. It's doing the same compression thing because this is a threaded section, so it's not going to pop out. And then when you're done, you tighten it back up and you let that compression bar relax. So these we'll demonstrate at the very end. We'll do some filling and some writing just because I think these are going to be some of my next carries because I just kind of finished them up and I haven't really gotten to use them much. And then for this guy, it's really just a matter of doing the usual polishing and putting a new sack on and getting it down in there so that once we twist the knob, it'll start ringing the sack, and it should kind of just take care of itself as long as we get it seated correctly. And so I figure the nice thing would be to just kind of show a Mabie Todd. I have another project I think I'll do with a Mabie Todd in the future. Sorry, just knocked over my camera. And that one would be a fun little Visifill, and we'll talk about that one later. But I imagine we'll just kind of show this one off. The imprint, sadly, on this one is very gone. You get a little bit here on the side, but it doesn't have the nice kind of Swan Mabie Todd that you get from this blue one. This is kind of what you would be anticipating, but this one's very worn. We get a little bit left over there, so I'll tape that up. I'll protect what I can of it, but also this is so far gone and so oxidized that I honestly, I'll do a game time decision, but I might just, you know, go over it and just say it's mostly gone. I'd rather have the color rather than protect that and then have everything nice and blacker and have this weird discoloration here. So I might just say, you know what, let's not worry about the imprint. It is what it is, and we'll just get the color back because we should be shooting for something like this. What else do we have? We also have this section here. I think I said way early in some of the earlier videos, at least one of them, that when you're doing the polishing, do check the underside of these feeds sometimes. And I think like Waterman and Swans, they have things written under there, so don't just go blindly scrubbing at it and you might take that off. So be aware of these. And anything else? Oh, looks like we even have something that says Swan on the section, so good to know about that. We have, does this have little grippy knobs? Yes, just like with the Schaefer's, this also has a textured end, so probably just polish this for this. I'm not going to be aggressive and use pads to kind of take this off. And what else can I say about the barrel? I have a lot of Swan lever fillers, so I've never really gotten to use these kinds of cell fillers, so I don't have a lot of things to say other than the usual, you know, watch for your cracks up here. I don't know if there's going to be anything here, but this is probably just a usual wear pen. And this cap is a nice kind of bent in clip, so I assume you could probably get some tension breaks there. This gold trim could be, you know, worn off over time, but this is actually pretty good despite the body. And this also, just like these other two, has nice 3 cap bands, like 2 slimmer, 1 medium, so that's kind of attractive. But this one's got a little bit of loss. I'm sure it'll look good, but this one does have a little bit of loss to it. And just like the usual stuff, check the cap lips. This one has nothing going on. It's nice and clean, so I'll wind up taping this off, and I'll debate because this is so oxidized. I might just tape off the band as much as I can, and I might just try the polishes just to see if on the lip the polishes do a good enough job. But if the pads do so well, gets rid of some of this oxidation up here and this just looks discolored, I might do a light hand and, you know, fully tape off the band and do something light with the pads, just to try to match the lip, because that is a pretty good sized lip, not just like a little. I keep doing it. I don't know why I'm knocking my camera over, but there we go. So that's what I'll do here, and that's pretty much it. This is just a classic cigar shaped fountain pen. So we'll see how well this will clean up just with polishing. We'll get it resacked, and we'll see how good these little twist fillers can be, and we'll kind of compare it to these particular kinds of twist fillers that use the compression bar. So I don't know, maybe I'll kind of ink up everything and just have a little bit of fun with it. But we'll take a break here, and I will come back once this is kind of fully polished. I'll go ahead and do my polishes with the micro mesh, use the liquid polishes, my plastic polishes, and probably finish up with the Simichrome, and we'll see where we come back. But again, this is just a matter of pulling off, get the sack out, clean off the sack remnants, and I'm just gonna knock out the feed with the nib. And the other, speaking of nibs, Mabie Todd are some of my favorite nibs. This one has a little bit of semi-flex. I can definitely flex it by pushing on it, but there are some very classic vintage Mabie Todds that Swans, I mean, that really just flex like crazy, and this one's pretty good too. There we go. Yeah, that guy's got some decent semi-flex. I'm not pushing nearly as hard, and it's opening up. And how's that red one? Dum dum dum. Yeah, he's opening up pretty good too. So these are fun, semi-flex. They're not like wet noodles, but Mabie Todd nibs, ooh, one of my favorites. But anyway, rambled now for about 16-17 minutes, but it's basically taken apart. I'll do my knockout, I'll do my tape, I'll do my polish, and I'll see you when it hopefully looks a lot prettier. And here we are, finally ready, all put together and ready to show off. So I went ahead and sacked this guy, so red one, blue one, black one, in case the colors aren't coming up. And you might not have recognized it because you were probably expecting that brown pen, but nope, this guy is actually a black pen. And so I cut myself off, but what I was saying was just so we can do the writing sample, because this is going to be putting some twisting into the sack, I wanted to go ahead and sack this thing up, let the shellac set so that we can go and do a writing sample, and I don't have to you know, sack it, cut, and do all this stuff again. But anyway, so yes, we have a black pen, and let me see if I can zoom in and start doing the showing stuff. Let's start at the top. We have the nice kind of torpedo cigar shape. We have this lovely swan clip. The gold polished up quite nicely, and it kind of like juts out, comes down with a little ball on the tip. It's a nice stiff clip. We have these lovely cap bands. And I did wind up finding one little issue with this pen, and it was while I was polishing, and I hope you can see it. But right kind of in line on this cap lip is a bit of a crack, and I'm going to try to twirl it around to see if you can see the line. Maybe I've got so much light going on here. But let me see if I can get her. So yeah, I catch right about there. So let's look in this little area. Oh, maybe you can see like right, yeah, I see right there-ish. I'll give it a twirl, but you see this little slanted line? That's my crack. And I went ahead and on the back, I put a piece of electrical tape in here just to kind of stabilize it. This is black and hard rubber, so that it's going to be a little bit difficult to repair. There's one way I know to do it, but on a cap lip, I don't know if I really want to try it. So this buys me some time to kind of think about it. But I do want to say something about doing something like this, putting some tape in the cap. Some people, if you have, I can't think of a model, for example, but sometimes people will try to build up threads, and they'll put like Teflon tape, especially on sections that thread into the barrel. If they've lost their cut over the years, people will put like that plumber's tape, that Teflon tape in here, just to kind of build something up, or maybe a little bit of electrical tape. But when you do that, you are occupying space in something that was tightly fit, like hopefully well machined to fit together closely. So you're taking up space, and you're going to do, oops, I'm reshooting this because my sound was off. So there is ink in this pen. Which means I probably shouldn't do that. Let me just make sure my sack's okay. Yeah. So if you're putting Teflon tape or a little piece of tape and you start to thread into something or push into something, you might crack. So me doing this was a bit of a risk, a bit of a gamble, but I did it slowly. It's like, yeah, because it's kind of already just kind of meeting resistance as I push it in. It's already, I haven't even threaded and it's on there. But I can go ahead and turn. So I got lucky, and it luckily doesn't even push that out very much or at all. It's still kind of hard to see. So be aware if you're going to do something like that, as little as you can, and test it as slowly as you can. But okay, that was my digression. What else can we say? Let's go ahead and get the cap off, and we'll show you this nice Mabie Todd #2 nib. I think it says Swan #2 14 karat pink CT, and the little small print I can't quite see with my naked eyes. Let's see if I can put a loop to it. That says Mabie Todd and Company Limited, made in England. This is an English made pen. And then we can see that there is a nice swan, the word swan, both on the section and on the feed. There it is. Nice swan. It will come down. The barrel's pretty good, and I was actually pleasantly surprised. See if I can roll around to it. It's faded, but I can see more of the imprint than I thought I could. Now the swan in the middle is definitely more faded, but around the edges you can see the Mabie Todd and made in England kind of stuff. So I'll try to see if the glare will catch it for you, but take my word for it. And then here on the end, which is what a lot of Mabie Todds have, is their model number. This is a 4261, if you can see that in the glare. And try to look online. It's not a lot of good resources for what these mean, but I think the first digit, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm kind of going from memory here, but the first digit was kind of the tier pen, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm not sure how high it goes, but I think 4 is better than 3, is better than a 2. The second digit is, in this case, a 2, is the nib, so this #2 nib corresponds with this 2. The 6, I think that may indicate the fact that it's or the 60 or the 61, that kind of last 2 digits indicates maybe that this is a certain kind of twist filler. But again, I read this a little bit ago, didn't write it down because it was kind of like people were speculating, but I think that's what it is. But dig around, see what we can find out. See what you can find out if you get one of these pens. And of course the bottom has the knurled bottom so that you can grip it a little bit better. So let me go ahead and put this up and compared. So this is a nice simple black pen. It's got its imprint. It's got, you know, the model number. Actually a little bit surprised. This red one absolutely doesn't have anything on the cap or the barrel, not even a model number. So I was a little bit surprised by that. But it does have on the back end, let's go down here, that says, there you go, see if you can catch that, Swan England. Swan England, not made in, just Swan England. Oh, there we go. So there's that. That's the only thing that I can find on this whole barrel. And then the blue one has a wonderful imprint. There we go. Swan Leverless Pen, Mabie Todd, Company Limited, made in England. And it's got, is that a patent number at the bottom? I think, maybe. Can't quite make it out from my angle, but sadly and oddly, like this big chunky pen doesn't have anything in terms of model number here either. So the red and the blue surprised me a little bit, but here we are, 2 wonderful pens. And I inked up this black one, of course. I inked up the red one, and just so I don't have a third pen to clean after all this, because these two are the same mechanism. I did not, but I'm curious now. So this is a number 4 nib. I just want to see the size of these nibs since I've got them all laid out. Here's a number 3 nib, definitely a little bit smaller, and then we'll compare the 3 to the 2, which is nice. And the 3 to the 2, yeah. A little bit smaller yet. Not by much, but a little bit. But that's kind of cool. We have several variations just among 3 different pens. And I will say, as far as timing for these pens, not great information. It was kind of hard to tell and nail down an exact date, especially without model numbers. But I'm thinking these are probably mid to late 40s, maybe early 50s, just based on the fact that this has the compression bar mechanism and this little twisty filler with the bar, with the rod that kind of spins around and twists the sack to get compression, is probably early 40s is what I think I could have settled on. But let's go ahead and set this guy aside. We'll do a little bit of writing sample. And for this one, I did pull out lavender black. And just to kind of mime it, like I'll show you, actually, I can still fill it. I'll show you what the capacity is. So I think this is a full fill. I may have gotten a few drops out, but let's see if I can kind of undo my knob, see if we can get a little background to it. There we go. We're already getting some drops. So there we go. Fat drops coming out. I'm going to twist all the way down. Or all the way out. So all the way out. I'm going to dunk it in. And I will tighten it back down. And we'll hold it for a second. That should be good. Get you wiped down. Put you here. And we'll do the same thing for the other one, just to kind of see what the capacity was. So I think this one also should be full. Let's see if I can do this. There we go. Starting to get some drops. So yeah, they fill decently. They're not the biggest capacity. This one seems to be a little bit better than the black one maybe, but we'll do some fresh fills and see how they turn out at the end. Yeah. This one takes a while to twist. Okay. Let that go. There we go. Wipe you down. Put his cap on. And let's turn to our black one. Our black and hard rubber. Smells like a tire, so you know it's black and hard rubber. So let's go ahead and do, is it going? Yep, there we go. So zoom out, and I'll show this in a second once I kind of get it written. So let's go. This is Swan. Ooh. Mabie Todd. Wow. This is smooth as silk, honestly. That is a nice nib. Not laying down as heavy. It almost seems a little lighter than I thought it would be. But anyway, Swan Mabie Todd. Let's write our sentence. Yeah, this is a super smooth nib. I like it a lot. I'll almost say that this smooth nib on this rhodia paper almost makes it too easy to write. Like it's, there needs to be a little bit of a resistance so that you can not get too sloppy with your handwriting, I think. So I actually think I would try this on a slightly coarser paper. But yeah, I mean, if you want smooth, this is smooth. So let's see what kind of lines we have. Let's go. So, oops. I should also say that this looks like it's, I'd call it a fine, kind of a larger size of fine, to be honest. And let's go ahead and do a few lines. So no pressure, a little bit more. Get the spread. Oop, and then I railroad it. So You can get a little bit of semi-flex out of it. You can't go too big. And then came back, so I didn't push it too hard. Let me go ahead and do kind of figure 8. And a little more dynamic writing. Yeah, it's not like a wet noodle, but you have to use a little bit of moderate pressure to kind of get this squeeze out. Springs back pretty well. So I'd say a decent semi-flex writer with good springiness to it. And not too wet. Yeah. Yeah, streaks a little bit, but doesn't lay down a super heavy line. And let's do some fast writing. That's keeping up. I like it. And we'll do a little bit of reverse. Feels a little bit more scratchy as a reverse. Definitely goes to like an extra finish kind of line. Yeah, it digs. It's not the best. You could do it, but yeah, definitely extra fine. But it does slow the pen down a little bit, so it's easier to kind of get the, you know, not just look like messy writing, but there we go. Not too bad. I mean, I like this guy as a fine writer. Yeah, probably a little different paper I would prefer it on, but good pen. I like it. And let's go and do the red one just for kicks. Step up a little bit. So this will be, there we go. Okay. Oh, that's pretty good. There's a good red for this pen. I like it. And we'll go again. Swan. Mabie Todd. Pretty smooth too. Not as smooth as this one, but this is pretty darn smooth as well. So let me just write the sentence. Yeah, a little bit more control. Less look, a little bit more control. So I kind of like this nib ever so slightly better. Let's go ahead and see what it lays down. Oh, I'll call this also a fine line. This is definitely clearly a fine line in my mind. Almost does seem like it has a little bit. Look under the loop. Oh, maybe not. For some reason. Yeah, it's got ever such a slight variation, but I thought it almost looked was italic for a second, but I don't think so. But anyway, let's go ahead and lay down. Yeah, similarly, looks probably a little bit of a dry ink, but these are fine lines, so I'm not expecting them to be gushers. That's a little bit more, but not terribly wet, but decent. And we can do the flexy thing. Let's see. No pressure. More pressure. Wow, that one's pretty good. This one definitely has a little bit more flex than the black one. And I'm not going to push it any more than that. And I'm going to go and do my... And this is with decent pressure. I am using more pressure. Maybe a little bit more than the black one. But even with that, that is a nice fat one. So this has a little bit more spring, a little bit more flex than the black. And what can I do next? Let's do... Imagine some quick writing. Yeah, maybe I just got fooled because like maybe I'm opening up a little bit. I just thought it was an italic for a second. But that's actually really fun. It opens up easier. I will say the initial flex is pretty easy. But then if you want to get that fat one, you're pushing decently hard. So it's kind of got a nice feedback in terms of to get that, you're not gonna, it's gonna give you a warning so that maybe you don't overdo it, but that's nice. I am a big fan. I really like this red one. Let's go, is it red? Yep. Let's go reverse. Yeah, that's extra fine. Doesn't really dig, maybe just a little bit of feedback, but it definitely doesn't give you the kind of the thicker line that you're probably going to want. Oh, there we go. Just having a hard time focusing. Probably it's just me in the frame. But anyway, yeah, this one's good. If I had to choose a nib, I think I like this one a little bit better. One, a little fun, springier, but I think it's just a little bit easier on this paper. Let's go ahead and put that back. And I will show you this. I'm just going to give a little bit of view of the writing. I'm a big fan of Swans and Mabie Todd's. One of my first pens, I don't know if I said this in the introductory video, was a Mabie Todd, and it wasn't a vintage one actually. It was one from Fountain Pen Hospital, and they, I think for a time, had the name or the rights to the name Mabie Todd, and they made some, had a few releases, and this one that caught my eye was a metal pen, decently heavy, and it just had this cool Art Deco kind of design to it, and I should show it off in another video because I'll definitely do some more Swans. But I think because it was one of my first fountain pens ever, I have a soft spot for Swans and Mabie Todds, and they turned out to be really great pens. You get these nice vintage Swan nibs, they flex and write so well. So I would always recommend a Swan or Mabie Todd pen. So let me lay those out. What should I do next? I probably, just by rambling, have made this video too long already, and I have some things pulled off from the side that I'm gonna get a little more industrious and make some project pens. So I think in the near future, we'll move that, but I think I have built up a little bit of a collection of safety pens, so I'm gonna start getting into those. And there's a couple flavors of that, so I'm going to do some safety pens. I have, and I've done another one, so this would be my second one. This is a nice kind of similar safety pen, but it is a Moore safety pen, and I think this is a banker's version. It's got a bit of a messed up nib. This nib is not going to be salvageable. It's missing a tine, but I have another one that I'm kind of semi-restored, and I was like, well, this one's definitely a larger Moore pen, so I might just sacrifice that nib for this guy if it fits. If not, well, we'll figure it out. But these cool Moore safety pens. Let's do that. And I have, in terms of Swans and Mabie Todd, this is a Visofill, just kind of a visual filling mechanism, so you can see the ink come in. And this is one I've kind of done before, but I recently came in possession of a miniature version. Same thing, it's a Visofill. I think these are the first generations. It's got the similar kind of piece in the back, the jewel chamber, whatever you want to call it. So just to kind of show this one and to make sure things aren't super small and hard to see, I thought, well, maybe I can dig back into this one and make sure that, you know, I liked what I did. So might just be using this as a demonstrator to get this one repaired. So another Swan, and not as far as a different, oh, there we go, filling mechanism. I have this nice Taperite, kind of the Waterman example of the hooded nib, so their competition to a Parker 51. And I actually like Taperites. I think they don't get the distinction they deserve. Not so much, you know, they just kind of barely put the effort in, made a hood, but I actually do like the kind of streamlinedness, how they kind of got the look, and their nibs on these semi-hooded nibs do offer a little bit of more fun than a Parker 51 would. These can be flexible, whereas the Parker 51 just could not. And I've got a few talking points about the Taperites, so I thought I'd do one of those just because it was handy. And the other one, and I've already got this one in the works, not this particular one, but I'll show you an example, is we'll do a PFM. And the one I have in the works is a nice red one, and you'll see it probably the video after this, but I just wanted to get back, and I know I said I'd do one at some point, because there's a little bit of just getting into this area is the stuff that kind of makes it worth doing. But here down, it's basically a snorkel filler, here up just a few little packing things just to be aware of. So it's worth doing it, even though it is a snorkel filler. But we'll see a different one, a nice red one instead of this one. And I think those are just the ones I pulled down just to kind of get myself occupied with. And I'll go ahead and sign off, put these back in the center, and I think next time we'll see you with a nice maroon PFM. Thanks for stopping by. And now the emptying, just so you can see how much was in these. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and see what we got. Let me see. There we go. So I'm going to open it up. 2, 3, 4. Wow, that's 20 drops so far. Ooh, 20 fat drops. So maybe 20, 21 with all. Ooh. There's one last one, so you can get good 20 drops. That's a pretty good capacity. Boom, boom. So we'll lock you back down. I'll just go through and clean these off camera. And let's see how much this guy filled up. Okay, so the twist filler versus the twist compression filler. Let's go. 1. There you go. Oh, dang it, I lost count and that came out at once, so let's just finish up. Yeah, I'm gonna go somewhere probably around 15-ish since I just got all those bubbles at once, or the drops at once, so 15-ish. And maybe if I, get used to filling it, maybe I can get another little bit, but they're close. Surprisingly, this bigger pen did not seem to have as much as this red guy, and I forgot the size number sack, but this is 16 sack in here, and I don't know, this is number 3 nib, so yeah, maybe they're both similarly 16 sacks, but slightly more capacity in the red one. Maybe the compression is what does it a little bit better than wringing out that sack. Alright, good to go. And now I will let you go for real this time.